But for you all who did join us, thank you for coming back. And we are going to kick off today by trying another session of backups and bandwidth. Now, if we do have more technical issues, which it looks like I'm already kind of lagging a bit here, but if it gets very serious, we'll actually just have a quick pause and we'll change things to where we go over into Zoom. And the sessions after this backdoors and backups and bandwidth session are going to be with the speakers directly in Zoom. So that should help things too. All right. So without further ado, let's dive into our game. For you all who may have missed yesterday's session, here's what we're going to do. We want to basically go through an interactive tabletop scenario. Now, these are things that you may have seen others do with security incidents. We had backdoors and breaches from the folks at Black Hills. We showed you a little bit of that yesterday. The folks at Huntress have really advocated for these things too. Maybe you are already doing these things with your team. Well, we decided to have kind of a more playful slant on this and do it in true D&D style. So we've developed a scenario that we're going to be walking you all and our players through, where you have to recover from a backup disaster recovery situation. So I'm going to introduce you now to the players. They're going to make up the party here, the brave souls that have agreed to do this, and then we'll introduce you to your DM. Okay, so our first brave adventurer, we have none other than Greg Smith, our product manager, one of our product managers here at NinjaOne. Greg, thank you for being so brave and joining the party here.
No problem. I'm excited to get to it and get my D&D on.
And look at that. You got some fans here saying, woo, Greg. Okay. And no heckling yet. That's nice.
My number one fan there, I guess. He's a good
guy. Greg, why don't you give a little bit of info about your background, Greg the person, and then you can talk about Nathan Knock, your D&D player here.
Sure thing. Yeah, I'm a longtime MSPer, 10 years in the industry, turned product manager here at NinjaOne. So I'm in charge of a lot of fun and fancy products here at Ninja. And then Nathan is just a cooler version of myself. So we both had humble beginnings, both backed our way into the IT industry accidentally, and just found out that we had a knack for it and really liked it. So I'm excited to see what we can run into today. What kind of fun adventures await us?
Oh man. Well, I hope that excitement stays true when your buddy Dan takes control as the DM and starts throwing things at you. So Greg, thank you very much for joining. Let's meet the next party member.
Hi everyone.
Hello, Ben. Thank you for joining.
Well, I'm Ben Gagnon. You can pronounce my last name any old way you want. I've also got about 10 years in the MSP side of things, 20 years IT experience in general. During the 2008 recession, actually, I took a break from IT and I was actually a farm mechanic for a few years, which explains the rather dirty and curmudgeonly origin story of my character, DR Backhoe. He is a field tech because he looks like he works in the field, and that may or may not be true. Although he's kind of my real life alter ego, a little curmudgeon, a little dirt under the fingers, but he gets the job done. He knows the map of where everybody's data is, and he never goes in without a DR plan.
Amazing. Well, Ben, thank you for taking time, and thank you for bringing DR Backhoe to join the party. Excited to see you guys work yourself out of the situation. Okay, and then our final player, David. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm David Spoonar. Last name's a lot easier to say than it is to read, and vice versa. Z silent. And I own an MSP in Central Indiana, and have since 2017, worked in it before as a technician. Been in the industry for about a little over 20 years, including previous positions in-house IT until 2010. And my character is probably likes to do some of the same things I do as far as finding new tech and the latest and greatest, and dabbling in finding new things, probably more tech than than at least personally more tech than a CEO should spend his time on. But it's fun.
I don't think you're alone there, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us here. And now, the DM. And Dan, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, let's go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episodes of Backups and Bandwidth. My name is Dan Myers, and when I'm not role-playing in RPGs, I am the product manager for Ninja Backups here at NinjaOne. But today, I'll be your dungeon manager, and I'm going to take us through our adventure. Let's dive right in. Our adventure today begins in the world of Shuriken. The land is full of fantastical and mystical locations to adventure in. You've got the Dragonlands to the north, the Elven Forest Kingdom of Moonwood in the southwest. But our adventurers today, they're not going to be doing anything like that. Our heroes, instead, for some reason, have chosen to embark role-playing adventure in a world all too familiar to them, working in IT. Now, they look to conquer the adventures of working with backups and restores of critical company data. Our players at one time, they've met in a tavern long ago, but today they're filling in as temporary IT workers for a company who said they mysteriously lost their IT group. Something about a wizard and spells, but you don't get anything more. Our group arrives at a fairly nondescript, standard-looking office building, and they're met in the entry by a large green-skinned orc. He's got a short mohawk, and he's wearing a suit and tie with a warhammer slung over his back. Big name sticker, Steve, right across the chest. He immediately walks up to you. Hey, you're late. Come on, the IT office is over here. And he leads you down a hall into a room and just mutters, don't break anything, as he slams the door on his way out. You're inside this room, spacious in the middle, with a pot of desks with wooden carved dividers separating each desk from one another. Each desk has a fairly standard computer at it. You see flickering torches lining the walls, providing you light. And around the room are some hand-carved plaques with phrases like, unleash your inner hero, and fear is for mortals. And there's also a door labeled server room at the far end. So, players, as you settle into a new IT experience in a company you don't really know much about, what would you like to do?
So this is our first experience day one at this job, correct?
Yeah, you're being thrown in.
Let me see if I can even get logged in. Do I have credentials waiting for me?
Yeah, you find a leaf attached to the computer monitor with some etched user and password information. So you're able to get logged in right away.
Then I immediately change my password because the entire company knows what that is if they walk by my desk.
And what do you set your password to be?
Hunter 2.
Oh my gosh, you gave your password. Oh, this is already going horribly, but that's all right. We'll see what happens. Who else? Would you like to do anything as they get familiar?
I would also like to log in. Does my login present me with any multi-factor authentication options?
It does, and you are prompted to type in your well-known secret. So you go ahead and get logged in with your second factor, no problem.
Fantastic.
All
What
right.
does the file system look like? Do I see any SharePoint, any repository of knowledge, ancient tomes, scrolls?
There's tomes all over the place, and it's you spend the next hour trying to familiarize yourself. It doesn't seem to be well documented, but you get that it looks like this company is in charge of a spell management software of sorts. So hope you don't have to deal too much with that. All right. So as you are settling in, we have Adminis override. Your phone rings, and it's a picture of Steve. Do you answer that call?
Yes, I answer the call.
Hey, what's
David
going
does.
on down there? The server isn't working anymore. And he just hangs up.
I also attempt to log into the server.
Yeah. So after while the rest have been exploring their environment. You have too. You were able to get logged into your workstation, but you take a bit of time to look around, and yeah, the spell management software just is completely not responding anymore. So Steve's onto something. So we're going to have our first roll here. Who would like to investigate what's going on with this server?
I will roll.
Let's do it, Ben. Roll a d20, see how you do. Okay. All right, an 11. So it takes you a bit of time. You weren't able to find much documented about this, but you do eventually walk into the server room and you do see one of them is just not running anymore. You're able to kind of confirm that you can't log into it anymore. So you've got a bit of a problem. You've at least identified there's a server down here in your environment. Greg, what are you going to do about this? What are you going to do? Excuse me.
Is there any sort of documentation on the server how to log in, how to if there's any backups for it, just the information on this server at all that's been documented?
Yeah, roll me a d20, please.
Let's see.
18. Woo.
It's a good one.
Yeah. So you find some documentation, and in fact, you're familiar with this backup solution. So there's not too much time wasted here. This is going to help you out dramatically if you need to start going to a restore. It looks like they have an image backup with a local and cloud storage being used. Nice. All right. So you at least have the backup information.
Is there a standby so that it's ready to go, or do I have to manually back this sucker up?
Yeah, there's no standby ready. So now, Adminis, why don't you give me a D4 roll? We need to check the recent backups. Oh, okay. So it looks like it's been 4 days since the last backup actually took place. It looks like there were some backup failures, and but you looked at the ticketing system earlier. You didn't see anything about this. It looks like the backup alerting wasn't configured. And I'd say with Nathan's great role here, you are able to ascertain that the server ran out of storage space, but it wasn't set for alerting on that. So you've got 4-day-old backups, but you do have local and cloud options available. Are you guys going to try and restore the server?
Well, what do you think?
Do we
guys?
have a
What do you think?
documented recovery time objective?
Well, it's Steve, pretty angry right now. That's probably your recovery point objective. 4 days isn't very great here, but you're going to do the best you can. Who would like to start the restore process? DR, I know you always say you never walk into a place without a disaster recovery scenario. So you want to give us a try at rolling for a restore here?
Sure.
Let's do a D20 on that roll. Oh. DR, not all disaster recovery plans can be taken from one job to another, and this is no exception. You're new. You were just thrown into this fire a couple hours ago. Boy, you wish you would have had a bit more time. You're pretty stressed and having trouble keeping your cool. Restore scenarios can be stressful. You start to restore to a location, didn't even have enough storage, so the job failed pretty quickly. So let's see if we can get one more attempt. Adminis, you want to give us a D20 roll, see how you fare in this situation?
All right.
Okay. 12. Look, you're a bit stressed as well, having seen Dr. had been touting his skills earlier in the morning to you about backups, and you're like, boy, if he can't do it. But you you are able to restore, but it takes all day long. Now, you know, at the end of the day, you guys were able to restore this, but you restored a 4-day-old backup, and this is not good for the company. They're going to go through some tough times. People lost all their spells, but you were able to get back into the swing of things. So, listen, that was pretty intense. We are. Oh, Greg. Sorry, Nathan. Something catches your eye. Can you give me a perception roll, please? A D20. Yeah, there you go. Hey, nice. So there's a dusty tome in the corner of the room. What languages does your character speak? Okay, well, it's in common. This is fine. You should be great. So it reads the Tome of Best Practices. As you start to leaf through it, you find some pretty good musings in here. And that's where we're going to go ahead and take a break, and we're going to discuss what the Tomes of Best Practices is all about. So, look, these situations our heroes went through, they might seem a bit far-fetched. I know we added some flavor and flair to this, but they really can and do happen to IT organizations all the time when preparations aren't made or aren't kept up on a recurring basis. So what we want to do during our quick break here is take a few moments here to hit the meat of what this session is all about. We want to help spread the word to make sure you're all safe and your backups are ready when you will need them. Not if, will. So all of our attendees today are going to get a copy of the Tome of Best Practices, and we're going to take a look now to talk about with our panel. Listen, a small amount of the terminology is specific to our Ninja backup product, but all of its principles apply to any backup product you might be using today. So some of the 4 main key areas that I like to talk about, and then we'll get our panel's insight. Are you setting up the right type of backup for your recovery needs? Are you going to need a file folder? Do you need image backup to restore an entire machine? Are you keeping key business critical workloads and extra copies in the cloud? Our party got lucky today. They rolled well and had local and cloud backups. But there are people that are storing just cloud only or local only, and they find themselves in a bit of a jam when they wish they would have needed the other part of this. Alerting and auditing. This is something that our party faced today. There were no backup alerts set. Are you making sure that your backups and monitoring solutions are keeping you informed of a potential problem? Are you actually reading those audits? And not just alerting for failed backups, but when was the last successful backup? That could be just as important. And testing your restores. The saying goes, an untested backup isn't a backup. You've seen anecdotes online of people who have backups, but they never fully tested them, and they get themselves into a tight situation when they need it. So let's bring in some of our panel who would like to bring up some key points in backup best practices that they've experienced. What insight can you share with our panel, with our attendees?
So a pretty common method is the 3-2-1 method. So you need 3 different copies on 2 different platforms, and one of them being offsite. So if anything happens physically to the location, you still have an offsite backup. And if anything happens to any of your copies or that platform, you've got this built-in redundancy to make sure that we always have access to the files that we need.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess I'll add on to that. Regular restore drills. If you can't restore from your backups, then what good are they? Check them out. Virtual boot. Download. Do DR tests. Your mileage may vary for frequency and and type of tests, but they should be done on the regular and well documented that they have been done.
Yeah, and I'd also point out that not just, I mean, yeah, you need to make sure the backups are working, but you also need to know that you and other members of your team are prepared and know what to do. Restores are stressful. Like you can, I was working with in backups for 10 years, but restore situations are stressful, and if you don't clearly have a plan, you've run through it before, it's a lot to deal with. So making sure that it's not just one person that knows, or that at least somebody knows what to do in a situation is really important. David, what
And
insights can you share?
Well, I'd say make sure, actually quite relevant to the scenario, make sure that you're also monitoring for not just failures and that, disk wasn't accessible or something, but that something happens at all. So the lack of activity or confirmation, the lack of confirmation of success is also a failure. Depending on how you're monitoring, that can be tricky or easy depending on the software and system. And I would say making sure that your team in general, as you mentioned, is trained on at least the first steps in response, and then who has the process and who should be in charge of a restore or taking over that process, whether it's a senior engineer or preferably a couple of people because somebody might be out. So make sure there's redundancy in your restore plans to account for that scenario.
Yep, absolutely. So, listen, our goal here is to, I know we've got a lot of people with a lot of experience. The best practice guide and our bullet pointed list that everyone will get access to. Hopefully something on there triggers something in your mind that says, you know what, I should check that out. Items like, do you know that backup is running on all machines that it should be running? Did your projects team spin up a new server as a part of a paid project for a client, but did they install the backup software? Did they think you were going to do it? So not even just the backups that are running today, but have you audited your fleet? Have you made sure that alerting and monitoring is set up? So hopefully some of these items are going to uh, uh, trigger something that you'll be able to take to your jobs.
Yeah, make sure that your company leadership is aware of what your available restore time is based on your testing, and also that they've signed off on what is being backed up and is not being backed up, because you don't want them to find out what your plans are after you need them, because they will be much more upset.
And there's definitely an aspect of CYA there too, right? We would make reports to make sure that back when I was in MSP, every org were given once or twice a year a fully audited list of, here's the machines that are being backed up, here's the machines that are not, here's the drives being backed up, here's drives that are not. This is why we think they're not. Are you cool with this? Yeah? You can sign right here. Everyone's prepared. Everyone is ready for an event. All right.
And
Excellent.
When scoping out the cost of these things, make sure that you're also doing risk analysis on the other side of the fence. We can talk about how much a solution costs and restore times based off of those costs. Well, let's also talk about the cost of business if your systems go down. If you don't have access to this data, or even if you do have access and it takes 3 days for it to come back, how much money are you missing out on by not having that data? And so you got to make sure that, yes, sometimes backups can get expensive if you need that information quickly. However, if you need that information quickly, then it's probably making you money too. So always make sure that you're balancing both sides of the fence there.
Absolutely. Do we have any more comments and ideas from our panel before we're going to jump back into the game and try again, armed with our best practices?
And I guess only thing I'd add is the existence of a incident response plan, and that it be regularly reviewed by account managers, whatever, that the customer's IRP is constantly up to date. So maybe you write one, and then a year later, your client opens another branch. IRP hasn't been updated. Doesn't account for recovery of a second branch loss. that backups are definitely part of the IRP, but are you really recovering if you're not actually back up and running after your restore has completed? It's not just about getting data back; it's about getting business back.
Yep. All too true. All right. Excellent. So, with a flash cut, we return to our exciting world, still not dealing with anything in those cool Dragonlands. We've fast forwarded some time. It's winter. Your group, having been run out of town in the last adventure because they lost too much data, finds themselves in a new office. But Steve is still around, working here this time. Look, don't read too much into it. We got to get this thing going. So, you are starting your first week in a new IT position as a group. But what are the first things you'd like to do to make sure the past doesn't repeat itself?
I'd like to look for documentation on their IRP.
Yeah, so you don't find a ton of documentation. Are you gonna make an IRP for them?
I would like to start writing one. Yes.
Awesome. So you're going to write an IRP, incident response plan. Excellent.
And while he's writing that, I'm going to make sure that they have some good backups in place. And if not, then I'm going to start backing it up immediately.
Yeah, half of them were just non-existent. Some were okay. So you're gonna set up the frequency of backups, and you're gonna get those running. All right, love it.
Yeah, I'm going to double check those backups and make sure that they're in using separate credentials that are isolated from any production systems, and make sure that there's no accessibility from, should an attacker get into one of those systems, that they would be unable to affect, either deleting or modifying or infecting the backups in a way that would prevent destruction and recovery.
Oh, amazing. That's awesome. Yeah, so you've put up some great security framework here to make sure that backups aren't affected in the case of a security type incident. Awesome.
And I'm going to write up some regular reporting, both making sure that the monitoring for failures, but also absence of success, are in place, but also possibly daily, weekly deliverables, as well as executive summaries to the stakeholders.
Oh man, I work at this place. I love it. All right. So, over the course of a really nice montage just happened on screen, I assure you, of you guys doing all of this, and you guys are feeling great. So, but Greg, all of a sudden you get an alert. Looks like a server has gone down. Thankfully, it's not Steve telling you the server went down this time, so that's already a pretty nice improvement. What are you going to do?
The first thing we do is ping it to see if I can access it. Just see if it's responding.
Right. No, not responding. You spend a few minutes here, and this machine is borked.
Well, it's a good thing that Mr. Backhoe over here created an IRP for us. So let's go take a look at that incident response plan and see what we need to do for our first steps.
That's right. And one of the key factors here of being a good DM in Dungeons and Dragons is you don't make the characters and players roll for items that they can't have an outcome by rolling for. See, it may be anticlimactic here, but because our heroes took the time to prepare and practice for a crisis situation, there's no doubt about it. They are absolutely successful. They were prepared. They worked with the stakeholders to come up with the recovery time objective and the recovery point objective. They had monitoring and alerting in place. In fact, some of these machines in the company later down the line became ransomware, but your backups were nice and secure, and you were able to handle that event with flying colors as well. And we smash cut to Steve. He's thanking you for saving the day. He's baked you really intricate pastries for you as a thanks. Yeah, You know what? Steve's all right after all. We smash cut again to the city, throwing a celebration in your honor. And Greg, your phone rings again, this time from an unknown number, asking for help with some dragons. And you smile, knowing that future adventures are in store for you. But that can wait until the morning. And that is going to do it for our adventure in backups and bandwidths today. Listen, we want to close with a few items. I hear there's some, Jonathan, there's some prizes that we're going to be dealing with today, right?
I'll wait for confirmation. I see the free Yetis.
All right.
Comment.
Well,
hopefully folks can hear me though.
Yeah, we got you now, Jonathan.
Okay, great. Perfect. All right. So yes, Dan, thanks for the prompt there. There are prizes. And so yesterday we teased everybody. We said, hey, we've got this contest. A lot of folks signed up for it, and a lot of folks created some amazing characters, right? Well, in the resources section in Zoom today, there's two things I want to call out. First, you should be able to go into resources and find the tome of backup best practices that our players just uncovered. Thank you, players, for doing that. So you can download that, as well as a few other guides that from Ninja and from the Axiom guys that presented yesterday. A lot of folks were asking about their work around Sysmon and incorporating that with Ninja. And they've been kind enough to share their slides. And so there you can find that as well. The other thing that you'll find is, as a link, you can go to a PowerPoint that shows our 10 finalists for the Create Your Own Character contest. Super difficult to choose these finalists, but you've got 10 choices here, and there's a poll that I'll direct everyone to. We don't want to pick who wins overall these top 3 prizes, which, as a reminder, we're giving away a Steam Deck, a Lego Rivendell set, and a Zelda edition Switch. Happy Zelda Day for everyone who celebrated last Friday. So in order to find out who wins those prizes, we want you guys, everyone here on the call, to vote. And we'll pick the top 3. We'll give you updates throughout the day, but we're going to leave that poll open throughout the day. And you will decide who walks away with those prizes. The 10 finalists, also everyone on that list is going to go away with a customized Dungeon Master's tankard, which, Dan, I think you have something similar like this, don't you?
Yeah, I got everyone. Oh, see if I can get it in front of me. Knows I'm usually drinking tea, but I brought up the mug today for it.
Yeah, well, that as inspiration, we decided to get our finalists those. And for everyone on the chat who, if your character was not picked as a finalist, don't worry. There's more chances to win. We'll be sending out an email after today's sessions asking for some feedback, and you'll have other chances to win. And I just want to thank everybody again. Like, the characters are so great. I love seeing everyone's creativity, everyone diving into this challenge. Making some truly awesome characters and hilarious descriptions. We're also going to collect all of the submissions because I think everyone should check them out, and we'll share those with folks. If you haven't already, one place that everyone was sharing these things is our Discord. And I saw that some folks were asking, hey, where's my link so I can join the Ninja Discord server and get in on the conversation. And I believe David was kind enough to share a link, but I've got that link as well. So let me drop that in the chat. Make sure everyone could come in and join, and you'll be able to go and check out. There's an ITX Security Summit channel, and there's the contest. You can actually see everyone's cool submissions. So yeah, Dan, thanks for letting me chat about that, and thank you, sir, for being such a great DM and doing this again.
No problem. Listen, we wanted to mention, I know I briefly touched on it. We don't want to make this a big ad. You know, NinjaOne does have their own backup, and we built our best practices guide around this. Our backup product is built directly into our RMM, and it allows you to do some of the things we talked about, handling image and file folder backups. We hope you'll take a look at it today if you haven't, and we'd love to talk with you more about it. But in the end, whether you're using our backup product or not, we really want you to just take away that backup is not a set and forget product. It requires preparation on your end, as well as a competent vendor to make sure you're protected when disaster strikes. So I'm hoping that one or two of these bullet points we looked at today has triggered something in your brain that you can take with you today. And I just also want to thank our heroes, our panelists, for taking time out of their day to role play their day job. And thanks for our audience for joining. So back to you, Jonathan.
Awesome, Dan. Thank you so much. Dan was much kinder to our players, I feel like, than he was to me yesterday. If you guys saw our opening video, but that's okay. I won't take that personally. Thank you, Dan. Dan, as the comments say, I'm going to make sure that he, if he jumped already, that he sees that. Man, he's an amazing DM. He does such a good job at these things. Right. So, everyone who's joined us again for day 2, we're going to take a small break again, and we're going to get kicked back off with some more great sessions. And here we go on the screen. You can see what's coming up. So day 1 was all about sharing. Here's what's going on with the latest threat intel. We had some folks from Evan from Red Canary share the latest from their threat detection report. And then we dove into some smaller workshops, and we shared a lot of more tactical mitigation steps that people can roll out, some controls, and even shared some scripts on making some control settings and endpoint hardening a little bit easier to apply. So we got very tactical with things. Today we're switching gears a little bit and sharing more about, hey, you know, security isn't just about your tooling. It's not just about configuration settings. It's also obviously about your policies, your people. It's about working with leadership. And so that's really what we're focused on with day 2 here. We have Wes Spencer, who's going to be joining us for our first session. Wes is working with CyberFox right now, and he has been in the channel for a long time. He comes from Perch, one of the co-founders there. Wes is fantastic, and he's going to be talking all about, here's how you can talk to your board or your leadership about security in more effective ways that really align with business outcomes and all those things. And then we're going to get into a very hot topic, and that is cyber insurance. We've got Dustin Bolander from Fifth Wall Solutions, who's going to be guiding us through how to navigate a cyber insurance claim. You know, cyber insurance is one of those areas where there's a lot of mystique around it, right? I'm sure by this point, a lot of people in the chat have been seeing, hey, my clients or my own org has been getting the questionnaires, right, from renewing policies, or maybe trying to get a new cyber insurance policy for the first time. Dustin sees all this stuff all the time. He's going to be able to really give us an inside look into what our insurance companies looking for. And then when a claim process, if that does happen, you know what, he's going to give you a little bit of prep there, so you won't go into it blind and see a lot of surprises. Then we're going to be rounding out our day with two more great sessions. We've got Tim Golden from compliancerisk.io, and he's going to be talking about cyber governance. You know, we talk a lot about documentation and policies here, but how are we actually managing those policies and making sure they're up to date and being implemented? Tim's going to be talking about that. And then our closer, Juan Fernandez from Hackware, is going to be talking about selling security services. I am so impressed with Juan. He's got so much great insight to share. So all in all, I think this is going to be a great day. Thank you so much for joining us again. If you can't make it through this whole day, I realize it's a work day. Yes, these sessions are all being recorded, and we'll make sure to get you those recordings and those slides and some additional resources too after this day is over. So please take a chance to check out that link to see our finalists, cast your votes, and keep on being active in the chat. You guys are awesome. Let us know if you have any questions. Let us know if you're seeing technical difficulties at all. With that, I think we're going to take a brief pause, and then when we come back, we'll talk with our good friend Wes Spencer all about talking security with your board.